Hey, I want to suck y'all's dick. I smell like earwax, and I'm a vegan. Call me.
Hey, folks, welcome to the Jake and John Show, the world's greatest podcast of all time. I'm John, and I'm here with the other host, Jake.
What's up, Brother John?
And we're fucking chilling, man. We're going to start this podcast off by telling cringe stories, if we can think of them. I have one on lockdown now that I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, John, I don't even know what this story is yet, but he told me that this one is going to haunt him for the rest of his life. So I am super eager to hear this. Yeah,
this is one of those stories where if I have too much time alone without stimulation and it pops into my brain, I'm just like, fuck! And it just makes me feel terrible, like a child or something, you know?
Yep.
I can't handle it, but let's get right into it. So back in, it was probably 2002-ish, if I had to guess. Maybe it was 2001. So I think I was about 19, so maybe 2001. And I was going to community college at the time, and I worked there too in that gym. I've talked about that before at the front desk there. But anyway, I was taking a pharmacology class. And what that is you learn about pharmaceuticals and how the brain works. It's like an entry-level class, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was one of my electives, and I was like, that sounds cool, you know? It doesn't hurt to know that kind of shit, right? So I was in that class, and I did very well in that class, too. But you know how towards the end of semester, sometimes you either have a major test or a major presentation or some shit like that?
Yeah.
So our thing was we had a test, but it was easy, and then we had to give a group presentation. And so, so me and this lady and some other girl that was like 20, but the lady was like 40 something. I don't know. We drove to this like children's criminal home. Is that or it's like a juvenile detention center sort of, but they lived. I don't know. Well, I guess you live there if you're in jail, right?
Yeah.
But it was like that type of thing, and we had to talk to some of the staff there, and then one of the more well-behaved, teenagers that was there. He's probably like 15. And we just ask him some questions about the place and how effective it is in rehabilitating people. Just that kind of shit, you know what I'm saying? And so, anyway, we went there. We did all that shit. We did our research. And I guess that was basically it. And then we went back home that night. And then, I think it was on a Wednesday. And then Friday was like the last day of class or something. No, it wasn't. There was still like a month left of class. And that's an important detail. But anyway, so I'm not jumping all over the place. So Friday comes. And I have like notes written down and shit, but I have not prepared for this presentation whatsoever because up to this point I've been doing really well in this class, you know? And so that morning comes and you know how whenever you feel kind of nervous about something, you just want to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're like, fuck it, I'll go first, right?
Yep. And
so I was like, yeah, our team will go first or our group, whatever. And we go up there, and the way that it works is I go last, like with the closer, I guess. And because we had discussed it for like 10 minutes after class, you know?
Yeah.
On the Wednesday before that. And so the two girls go before me. They do pretty good. You know, it's like decent, typical, boring bullshit, right? And then it's my turn. And I get up there, and I have my notes and shit. And it's just quiet. You know how like in those like stupid presentations, everybody's just kind of sitting there like playing with their phones. I don't even know if there was cell phones then. Maybe there was. But everybody's just like, well, nobody's really paying attention and shit. And so I come out and have like a lot of confidence, and I'm really, is it boisterous or boisterous?
Boisterous?
Boisterous, yeah. You know, like a lot of bravado and shit and bass in my voice, and I'm feeling good. And I'm reading off the paper sort of, but trying to kind of improvise a little bit. And I'd taken the speech class before, so I'm trying to like do shit from that class, like kind of move my hands and walk around a little bit and all this shit. And for some reason, dude, it hits me as I'm going through there is A, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. But B, is like half the class isn't even paying attention to me. Like no one cares. The teacher's like hardly even looking at me, you know? And I'm like, for some reason, it makes me like really hot and nervous and sweaty. And like I can't function and I can't think and I can't continue on with my notes. And I just freeze, dude. Like it was like a minute and a half of like pretty good. And then I just fucking froze. And then that's when everybody started to pay attention.
Yeah.
And everybody's just looking at me, dude. And my skin is so hot, dude. And I'm so sweaty. And I'm like not shaking, but I feel like I want to. And then there's like 10 seconds of silence, dude. Super awkward. Just really uncomfortable. And I was like, you guys will have to excuse me. I'm having an asthma attack. I don't have asthma. And so...
I just busted out.
Yeah. And so I put my notes down, and I just like tried to, as calmly as possible, I walked out of the classroom, and I went and got a drink of water, and I went to the bathroom, and I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I was like, you fucking loser. Holy shit. You are the fucking biggest loser on earth, you piece of shit. Like, I was letting myself have it in the bathroom, you know? And so I don't know how much time passes, but it's probably like a good 15, 20 minutes. And so I come back into the classroom, and of course, as soon as I walk in, everybody's looking at me, and I'm like, oh my God, I just want to fucking melt, you know?
Yeah.
And the teacher was like, well, the last person's going to finish up. Would you like to continue on after that? And of course, I don't want to, but I'm not going to say no, because like you have to do the presentation to like, get your grade or something, right?
Yeah.
And so the last person goes, and I get back up, and I have my notes, and I stand up there, and I start talking again, dude, and like maybe 15, 20 seconds goes by, and I freeze up again, dude. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm just not feeling well today, or something like that, you know, and it was over. And then, like, I got out of there as fast as I could, got my shit. And then I remember just going in my truck, and I'm sitting there, dude, and I'm holding the steering wheel, like, strangling it, like, you fucking loser. Like, if anybody finds out about that, you're never going to get laid again. You know, like, all these thoughts are going through my head, like, you fucking worthless piece of shit. And so I didn't go to class. I think I went 3 times a week, like the Monday and Wednesday. I didn't even go because I think you can have like 2 or 3 absences or some shit, and I hadn't used them. So I was like, fuck that, dude. And so I'm sure everybody was aware, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but I came in, and I did end up finishing class, and I got an A in it. But I just felt so bad, dude, just like a fucking loser. But I actually had to talk to my teacher about it. And he was actually a really cool guy, like a recovered AA dude, you know, that's like this huge, tough biker, but he turned into Ned Flanders, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And he was really cool about it. He was like, I get it, man. I've been there. You know, he was like one of those type of guys.
Yeah.
And everything was cool. But I've carried that with me, dude, for, let's see, 2000, it's like 16 years. And I can't let it go, man. It's like I said, dude, anytime that I'm by myself and I'm not being stimulated or concentrating on something, that moment pops back into my mind, and I'm just like, fuck. And I can't fucking stand it, man. But I wanted to tell this one's a little bit shorter, I think, before I forget about it. This was in like 2005 or 2006 probably, and I was in the military. And when you're in the military, you have to get gas mask fit test and respirator fit test and shit. And so the military people that work over at the bio department, the biological, whatever their shit's called, they come over and they hook it up to your mask while you're wearing it up to this little machine. And you have to breathe and like read sentences and do all this shit. And they're looking for leaks, you know, like a leak check.
Oh, okay.
And to see if you can, you know, bend down and move around and shit. Excuse me. And so anyway, this girl is doing the test for me, and I have no idea who she is. You know, it's like the first time I've ever seen her, and it's 100% professional. There's no talk about anything in private life or hanging out or anything like that, right? And so anyway, fast forward like 6 months later, I'm in the gym and I'm on the leg press, and I got my headphones in and stuff, and I'm sitting there doing what I'm doing, and I see this person walk up next to me. But when I'm in the gym, I tend to like ignore people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like especially then, I was trying to be hardcore, like fuck you, no talking, workout, you know. Mm-hmm. And but this person is just not leaving, and I don't want to look at her and make eye contact. I'm hoping they'll just walk away, but they're standing there for like over a minute. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man! So I finished my set, and I'm just looking at my feet for like 30 seconds, and I'm like, okay, I have to acknowledge who this is, you know?
Yeah.
And so I turn and I look, and I do recognize her because I've seen her before. I've seen her around base, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But she's like, hey. How you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm good. How are you? And she was like, yeah, about that email I sent you, I just wanted to make sure that you got it. And I was like, I'm sorry, I don't check my email because most of the stuff in there is like, you know, people fucking sending me like invites to potlucks and shit like that. You're supposed to check it every day, but like after you've been there for a while, it's like, this is bullshit. Like, fuck you, you know?
Yeah.
And so she tells me the story, how she sent me this email. And she invited me to come to the Christmas party with her. And in the email, she detailed like how whenever she first saw me, she was like really attracted to me and like all this kind of shit. And she just told me all this shit. And I'm just looking at her with this blank stare on my face. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know? But, and the important detail of this story is I wasn't attracted to her at all, you know?
Yeah.
And and she explained herself to me, and I was like, I'm sorry. I don't want to go with you to the Christmas party. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. And she was like, oh my God. And she like threw her hands up on her face like she was going to cry.
Oh no.
And then she walked off, man. And I felt so bad for her, man. Like I didn't know what to say. And then from then on, up until like I left, even as a civilian employee, so that was like 8 years or whatever, I would see her around base. And I also had to go to her office like multiple times because you have to get a new fit test every year. And I would see her in there, and I'd just be like, oh, like try not to make eye contact. But I just felt so horrible for her, dude.
There's few things I think that are worse than like a dating rejection story. You know what I mean? Because there's not a great way to like turn somebody down and them leave and feel good about it. You know what I mean? And especially if you have to see them later and stuff like that. There's just not a great way to do that, But I mean, if you're not attracted to somebody, you can't entertain it. But but that's brutal, man. Because now that chick, she's probably thinking every time I fucking sit around and have some alone time, thinks of that moment or whatever, and it's fucking terrible.
Yeah, that's the thing about that conversation though is for like just the way she was telling me. It was like she had. Like Nick knew me, you know what I'm saying?
Well, it sounds like it was unfortunate too because when she entered the conversation, she assumed you knew something about it, right? Because of the email. So then she had to come back and explain the whole scenario. Yeah. So which is almost like if you tell a joke and then somebody didn't get it and then you have to explain the whole joke,
Right,
so,
it ruins
so
it.
everything like in the initial part of the conversation was like not at all what she planned, right? Like threw off a script immediately, Yeah,
that reminds me.
Fucking brutal.
This was. Man, I keep coughing, dude. We went to that delicious taco place again, and it's making me cough. But this was maybe like in 2013. No, it was like 2012, I think. And I was out at the bar with some of my roommates and my buddies and shit, and we were just like bored fucking around, And I wasn't dating at the time or anything like that. And so anyway, we came up with this idea, like we're gonna go up and ask out every single girl that we see. And just see what they say, just for fun. Like no one's really taking it serious.
Yeah.
And so everybody's doing it, and then it's my turn to go do it. And again, we're not looking for prizes here. Like it's like funny when someone gets rejected. We're all expecting that. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And that's exactly what happened. And I don't know how many girls I went up to. I want to say probably 20, probably at least 20. And I just walked up to them, and I was like, "Hey, how you doing? My name's John. I think you're really hot, and can I have your phone number?" And just terrible shit like that,
Yeah.
And I look back, I see my buddies, and they're like, "Oh my God, he's a fucking idiot," And but the point of that is, like, I got turned down by every single one of them for sure.
Yeah.
And I still felt terrible, even though I was just kind of just being like a drunk goof playing a game.
Yeah.
That rejection, it still hurt.
Dude, rejection is brutal,
it's
man.
Rough.
Like it's hard, man. Especially because, like, you're like, all right. You're already like nervous about it, right? And you're like, all right. And you finally get up the nerve, and you're like, all right, taking down the wall, gonna be vulnerable, throw myself out there, and then you do it, and you get punched right in the fucking face.
I know,
it's
man.
just, I've had that happen more times than is probably. Well, actually, girls probably don't understand this, but as men, you're rejected constantly.
Yeah.
And some guys are fortunate enough to have the. Whatever it is that makes them, they're like, fuck it. Yeah, whatever it is. They're like, fuck it,
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them looks at we've all probably heard this, like, in men's circles, there's a lot of dudes that think they're womanizers, right? So you hear all these people's strategies, I guess you'd say, because like you have some of these cunts that come up and they act like they've got some like perfect system. And what's unique about this is every one of these people is almost always a douchebag, like a complete douchebag, right? But you'll hear things like, well, they talk about it like it's statistics. They're like, well, I'll just go and ask out like, 40 chicks and 1 out of 40 will, you just strike when the iron's hot, and that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I don't have that. Yeah.
I think that probably does work.
Oh, I believe it. Absolutely.
Probably if you hit up 40, unless you're just something's really wrong with it, you'll probably get a yes.
If you remove like all selectivity from your like selection process, I mean, you're bound to strike every once in a while, right? Yeah, it's not like women where I believe, well, and I could have a wrong impression, but I don't think so. Where like a woman, in theory, probably just about any woman could go to a club and some dude will like gravitate to her, right?
Yeah,
like
they're at least going to get some form of attention.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Where a dude could like sit on the sideline and completely be sidelined forever. But so on to cringe tales. So, I'm trying. There's lots of scenarios in life that cause these cringy things, and I wish I could think of more right this second. Maybe more will come to me as we talk, but I have two of them from when I was a kid that come to mind immediately. And it's funny because looking back, like I don't truly care about that they, you know what I mean? Like they don't really haunt me per se, but let's just say that I remember the stories well today. You know what I mean? So, and they actually both took place when I played baseball. So you
must have been like what, 9, 10 maybe?
Yeah, man. I don't know. I'm guessing I was between 10 and 13, somewhere in there. Probably closer to 13 or so. But anyway, I was playing like Little League or whatever it is. And actually, I've got 3 stories. So the first one is I always wanted to be like a pitcher or good at batting, or I just wanted to be good at something, right? But I mean, like the facts are facts. I was a shitty baseball player and I was a fucking outfielder. And when you're in Little League, being in the outfield is basically like being benched because very rarely does the ball ever make it out there. You know what I mean? Every once in a while, but not very often. Like you could definitely play like 6 or 7 games and never have a bit of action. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but needless to say, like that's where I lived, was in the outfield. And I already didn't fit in a little bit. Well, for anybody who knows me, I don't fit into a lot of things, or like not very naturally, especially shit like that. But for whatever reason, when we were getting my uniform stuff, we couldn't find baseball pants in my size or whatever. So there was me and one other kid that we both know that were on the team, and we both wore sweatpants in our baseball jersey, right? So we didn't have like the full gear, so we're already like kind of sore thumbs out there, right? And not only that, but we both suck, and we're both like playing the outfield all the time. Well, I remember Dad came to watch a game, and he brought me, and he was sitting in the stands, and it was just us. I don't know if this was all on the same night. I don't remember exactly, but I'm just going to tell it. Like I think this was different nights, but I'm going to put them together because it doesn't matter. Yeah. Okay, so the first thing is I'm up to bat, okay? Which is pretty cool, like, because that's the one fun thing you get to do when you're a fucking outfielder is go to bat, because that's your only other function, right? And I'm not a great batter. Like, I hit a ball every once in a while, I'm just not that great at it. And I didn't practice all that much, to be perfectly honest. But so I'm in the batting cage, like, or I guess that's what's called before you go
where
up.
You warm up and
yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, I suck. I don't need to fucking warm up. That's like me playing pool and using the little chalk. Like, I don't know what the fuck that does, but I know that my playing ability, it doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm in there, and I'm up next to bat, and the other kid in front of me, he's out there at the plate and batting, right? So I'm in there like a jackass, like on TV, like swinging the bat around, and fucking I hit the fence like so fucking hard, dude. It was like, and like everybody stops and looks at me, and I saw the coach. He was just like, "Fuck," like shaking his head like it's a fucking moron, And then, so anyway, I actually don't remember anything about what happened when I went up to bat because I was so fucking horrified by that, Yeah. And not only that, but like remember, like my dad's out there watching me, like I'm trying to, look like I know what the hell I'm
athletic
doing.
And manly and
be something, right? So let me tell you. So then, and this is where I'm not sure if this was the same night or not. So then I'm playing in the outfield, okay, later, and lo and behold, some kid hits a fucking pop fly. All right, high up in the air. It's coming to me. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh shit. And I saw it coming. I was like, dude, finally, it's my time to shine. So like, I get my glove up, man, and I'm out there, and there's a light right here, like one of the stadium lights, because we were playing in the evening, and it was kind of like in my eye, and I couldn't see real well. Dude, that ball came down and hit. I caught it with my fucking eye socket, dude. I mean, we're talking, I went down. It was like, one of those. When I got up and my eye was like fucked up, man, like swollen up like this big.
Holy
and
shit.
So that was another one of my fine baseball moments. And then the third, which is probably the stupidest. Okay, because I'm not overly athletic. It's just that's the way it is. You know what I'm saying? So after one of the games, I had my baseball glove, and Dad was he had brought me to the game again, and it was just he and I, and we were leaving after the game, and I was basically I was just walking, and I was throwing the ball up in the air, and I was catching it like in my glove. You know what I mean? Well, I threw it up. You know how like when you're a kid, like I think everybody can picture this perfectly. Like when you're a kid and you're throwing a ball up, like you don't have control real well. So like sometimes it goes straight up, sometimes it goes way the fuck out in front of you or whatever, right? Well, I take the ball and I'm throwing it and catching it, and I throw it up and it goes out in front of me like some, which is fine. I'm going to run up and catch it. Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the ball and I start running to catch it, and I wasn't looking in front of me at all, and I ran face first into the fucking bleachers. Dude, like it fucked me up, and like
and Dad was with you.
Oh yeah, dude. So like he was probably embarrassed because his son's a retard, right? Like, so I mean, dude, I rang my bell on that motherfucker. Like that's like running full speed in the metal. That's exactly what happened, dude. Yeah. Like, and it hit me like I can remember hitting my teeth because my teeth were all like filled. You know, I thought, oh shit, I knocked them all out, you know. Yeah. And I can remember, like, I was so like embarrassed and stuff in the car. I can remember them making the stupidest statement ever to Dad, and I was like, I'm glad I drink a lot of milk. Didn't break my teeth.
Oh man!
So I can only imagine his swelling sense of pride in my brutal. Baseball. All that shit happened to baseball, and I actually quit baseball after that. You know, I mean, because there came a point where I was like, I'm just not a fucking athlete. You know, I mean, that's okay. We'll move on with life.
Yeah. I have another one that popped into my head, and this involves a girl, but I didn't do anything again, but I was there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But this was crazy, man. Let's see. Okay, this was back in like 92-ish probably. So I think I was 10. It was like the summer before 6th grade maybe. And so I knew this girl when I was growing up as a kid, and when we lived in Dallas, right?
Okay.
And we were like best buds for like 2 years or however long we lived there. And so then we moved away, and then eventually we moved to Houston and, to the house we grew up in. And I hadn't seen her in like 5 years. And I don't know how this all played out or worked out or whatever, but her like our parents got in contact, and she came to stay with us for like 2 weeks. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, so, just like nothing ever happened. We're best buds, you know what I'm saying? Just hanging out and shit. And it was summertime, and we had the membership to the pool. And so we would go down to the pool every day and go swimming and shit like that. And it was just like what we did. And so anyway, one of these days we were walking back. And if you had to guess, it's probably like a half mile from our house to the pool, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're walking back to go to our house. We're probably like halfway there. And she was like, my tummy hurts. And I'm like, well, are you okay? I mean, like, do you want to run back to the house or what? And she was like, nah, let's just keep walking. I think it'll be okay. And so we get closer to our house, and she's fine by the time we get there. And she was like, hey, I want to go over to your friend's house. We'll call him Tommy. She was like, well, I want to go over to Tommy's house. Because, like, when you're a kid, you know how you make friends instantly when you meet them. And, like, we're like a crew all of a sudden.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, cool. So we walk over there, and it's like a good mile at least. We walk all the way over there, and he's not there. But he lives back on this property. There's, like, woods. It's like 10 acres, I think.
Yeah.
You're familiar with what I'm talking about,
exactly.
Like the area.
Yeah, yep.
And so we knock on the door and shit and wait around, and he's not there. I guess he's out somewhere. And no one's there. His parents, no one. And he has this driveway that's like fucking like 600-800 feet long, probably at least. And we're walking back, and we're probably like 100 feet from like the little gate that goes back into the main neighborhood. And she was like, oh my God, my stomach hurts so bad. I got to go to the bathroom. And I was like, well, you can just go behind the tree over there. I won't look. I'll turn around, And she was like, no, I got the other kind of the bathroom. And I'm like, oh no. And I was like, because, all the doors are locked in that dude's house. There's like nothing we can do.
Yeah.
And so she's like freaks out and has like this panic attack, man. And she goes off into the woods and like, and like she poops on herself. And because she's like afraid or something. I don't know, man. And she's like standing behind this tree for like 10 minutes crying. I'm like, are you okay? Can I help you? That kind of shit. And she comes back and she just has like shit all over her legs and everything. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. And she was just like dying of embarrassment. You know what I'm saying? And there was like really nothing I could do.
Right.
And so what we ended up doing is like, I gave her my shirt and my towel because we still had our towels from the pool or whatever, you know? And then like we buried her other clothes. You know, I didn't like look at anything, you know what I'm saying? Perfect gentleman, obviously. And, you know, we just like tried to get rid of the evidence and all that, and then went back to the house, and you know, she got cleaned up or whatever. But the look of horror on her face when all that went down, dude, and like I can't explain it to this day. It like haunts me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To see that happen to somebody, I haven't seen her in over like 25 years probably.
And you know, it's like unfortunate, like what you know, what, and it's like this with a lot of the cringe stories is like you didn't give a fuck. You know what I mean? Like you felt bad for her, but you don't. Yeah. You're not like, you know.
That's the thing. Yeah, exactly. So like when you do something that's cringy, is in your mind, you're focused on what everybody else is thinking about you, or like that they don't forget about it. Like that happened to her, it doesn't mean anything to me. You know what I'm saying? I just feel bad for her, but like it doesn't make me like question her character or her coolness. You know what I'm saying? Anything like that. And it's the same thing that if anybody does something cringy, you just like, it's like whatever, who cares? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You just like move on from it because everybody does something cringy occasionally.
Well, you know, the people that seem to do the best with it are the ones that just fucking own it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that seems to instantly diffuse things.
Yeah, like own it and don't make a big deal out of it, and you don't feel the need to constantly bring it up. It's like because I'm sure you've seen people who do that sometimes. It's like they constantly bring it up to try to get a little punishment to like make it feel better somehow, to make it go away. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And they just
it's like trying to get it out, you know.
Yeah. But it's like, dude, it's cool, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's done something cringy. Just let it go, man. But some people, they can't let it go, dude. But I can. Except for that one thing. Except for that when I messed up on my presentation.
That's funny, too, because that one, to me, I mean, isn't that bad? I mean,
picture it like
fact
this.
that it had this happen a second time is kind of like, damn it, you know. But
okay, this is the way that I picture it in my own mind. Is like when you see somebody go out for the national anthem and they try to sing and they just like nothing comes out and everybody's staring at them and everybody starts booing and like throwing popcorn and shit at them. That's to me, that's a much bigger stage, obviously, but it happens, you know. Like I saw it happen at this hockey game, and that's what it feels like. It just feels like you're melting, like you're a total fucking failure.
Oh man, I just thought of I have another story. This wasn't me, but I know this kid like. Because he said it was like so embarrassed from this one thing. So I was in college and I was taking, man, I want to say it was like U.S. History 1 or World History. I don't remember what it was. But so we were taking this class at like, it was like a 7 a.m. class. And so I usually was like completely tired and shit through the whole thing, you know. Well, but the teacher, he was pretty cool. Like basically all he did, he would shut off the lights, turn on the slide projector, and like go through your slides and just talk. You know, he'd just lecture the whole time. Well, he got to talking about, and I'm gonna fuck up this part, but I want to say it was the Aztecs he was talking about, and he starts talking about because they were into. I want to say it was Aztecs. We're into sacrifice, like and stuff like that, you know, and bloodletting. Well, he was telling a story that I guess what the Aztecs did is they would take the barb of a what's the thing that killed Steve Irwin?
Like a stingray.
A stingray. I think this is what it was, if I remember right.
Yeah.
They would take the barb of a stingray and like cut their cocks open and bleed out from their cock. Okay.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Well, he was like telling this story, and he was explaining like the bloodletting, and this dude that was like sitting at the table across from me, he just fell out, dude, fainted,
like passed out.
Yeah, passed out, dude.
Holy shit!
So like I didn't even know you could pass out from like sound stimuli. Like I mean, hearing something would make you pass out, but that dude, he was sitting there and he was just like boom, like on the floor, dead to the world, and then. So after he passed out, anytime somebody passes out, like it's at college, there's going to be an ambulance, there's going to be paramedics, you know what I mean? So he had to like go like sit on the stretcher and like get taken, because I think at the college, if I'm not mistaken, they have to take you to the hospital to evaluate you and all that kind of stuff, right? So so that dude had to go through all that. And then like the next day, he was like, dude, he was like, it was that story. He was like, there's nothing else to. He was just like sicked out. He's like, I'm so embarrassed that like the fucking all that shit had to happen, the paramedics and all that, you know. And it was all from a like Barb and the Cock story.
Because I'm sure that like everybody was watching and concerned and curious.
Well, yeah, and that was the thing. I mean, everybody was like, dude, I hope that dude's okay.
Yeah, like no one was making fun of him.
No. Yeah, but he was like truly embarrassed by that. And it was really something that was like, it was more scary. It was like, hey, man, hope you're okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, man, whenever I broke my arm in half, like a year ago.
Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
No, it's okay. But I broke my arm in half. I was laying in bed, and this is right after my surgery. And they told me not to put any weight on my arm, and I rolled over and tried to push myself up out of my bed because they had removed like 60% of the bone over like a 3 or 4 inch area, and the strength in the bone is just not there when they take all that shit out of there.
Yeah.
And they had packed it with bone graft, but that shit, it takes like a long fucking time for that to work, and it had only been a week or two. And so my arm literally snapped in half like a twig, like a Jell-O twig, just snap. And I called you, at first I went into shock and I was like hyperventilating and shit, and I was like, fuck. But I knew just from like watching shows like Emergency 911 and shit that it would only last for a couple of minutes, and it did, So I was like, oh, and I was like, fuck, this really hurts. And so I called you up. And I was like, dude, and I told you what happened.
Let me tell this from my side because this was one of the strangest phone calls I've ever got in my life. So, of course, I know you've had the surgery and all that,
Yeah.
And I'm actually spending the night on your side of town this night by chance because I was going to go run a 5K the next morning.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so I was staying in a hotel, like kind of close to you. So I went and I was asleep, chilling, and I just happened to catch my phone ringing, like for some reason, because I had it on silent, but or something, and the vibration though, I felt it or something, and it's amazing that I even picked it up. Is what I'm trying to say, because it was like 3 a.m. or something like that.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so I picked up the phone. I'm like, hello, because I saw it was you, and this is exactly what you said. You're like, dude, I broke my fucking arm in half. And I was like, what the fuck? And you're like, no, I'm serious. I broke my fucking arm in half. And I was like, and I just woke up and I'm trying to get my bearings. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like right by your house. I'll like come over there, Okay, good, carry on.
Yeah. So I called you over there, and then the thing is I can't like get out of bed, or I don't remember. Was I on the floor? I think I got back in the bed.
You were laying in your bed and you had your arm like inside your shirt, or I don't know. I think you had your arm inside your shirt, but you weren't moving it. So I couldn't actually see your arm.
Yeah. So I remember it took me like 30 minutes to get back into the bed, because when you have a compound fracture, this is 100% legit compound fracture. My arm was broken in half. Like I said, when it broke, it bent like fucking 90 degrees in the middle of my fucking arm. Like my middle of my bicep tricep area just snapped, and I was like, ah!
Yeah.
And I fell on the floor. Like, I don't remember like the whole thing. I fell on the fucking floor, and I've never experienced pain like that in my life, dude. And but it took me like 30 minutes to get back up on the bed, and I finally got up there. And if I even just breathed like just a little too much, it's just this intense pain, because you can feel the bones grinding against each other. So it's not just the pain, it's like that nauseating feeling of knowing that your insides are super fucked up, know? And keep in mind too that I had like a 7-inch incision on the back of my arm that went all the way to my bone. And so the bone was like scraping up against all that shit, the internal stitching and everything. And it was just ruthless, dude, just painful. And so you got there, and I just, for some reason, man, I felt like really fucking embarrassed. I can't explain it. Like, I felt so vulnerable and weak, and just like a moron for breaking my arm. And but somehow we came to the conclusion to call an ambulance, because I think I was trying to get out of bed for like a good half hour.
Well, I think that was my call eventually, because I was like, all right, because you were like, no, I can get up and stuff. That every time we would move you even just like a tiny little bit, man, you'd be like, fuck no, Yeah, and then I was like, dude, I can't. Even if I got you downstairs, like if something happened, there's nothing I could do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not the right dude for this job.
Yeah. So we called the ambulance, and then all the firefighters and paramedics come up into my fucking apartment.
Yeah.
And I feel like such a bitch, because they got to help me. But it turns out I ended up actually getting out of the bed by myself, because if anybody touched me, I would like flip out.
Well, what they'd said was that if they were going to take you down, they had to put you like in this wheelchair for steps or some shit. I don't remember exactly.
That's right.
And it was going to be like, doom,
yeah,
doom, because you could go down your like apartment stairs, and you were like, no, fuck that, I can't do that.
Yeah, dude, and I couldn't. There's no way I would have fucking been in agony. But yeah, somehow I made it down there on feet. And then, but when I got there, I was like, fuck. Then it kind of hit me. This is going to cost like $3,000. And they're driving me like fucking 2 miles, if that. Yeah. It's like probably not even 2 miles to the hospital there. But I ended up doing it. I got in the back there, and there's like this big, like corn-fed 300-pound white chick in the back there. This isn't her first rodeo, She doesn't even care that I'm like. I mean, she's not like ignoring that I'm in pain, but what can she do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. She's not shocked by it.
Yeah, like my arm is like a wet noodle, and I'm like, ugh, like making those like super fucked up noises, And it's not phasing her at all, dude. But yeah. What was the point of that? I think the point was like that feeling of vulnerability whenever you get hurt and then everybody's looking at you and you feel like a fool, you know what I mean?
Well, I remember because I remember you even told me then, you're like, I'm so fucking embarrassed. And
yeah,
like
I felt like an idiot and like a pussy, But that's the thing though, is like, if you had never had a compound fracture, dude, it hurts so fucking bad, dude. And if I see somebody get one and they're like writhing in pain, I would no thought would ever come to my mind that person's a pussy or they can't take it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because that shit is horrific, especially when the bones start grinding together, dude. It's like, and the sound it makes, because you can like, I'm trying to think like how to say this.
I remember during the time it stuck with me. You said it would click.
Yeah, but it's like you can feel the noise. Does that? You know what I'm saying?
So it's like nerve pain, right? Like shocks and
yeah, but it's like whenever you can hear the clicking inside of your body, like instead of hearing it outwards from the outside, like I hear the clicking noise like up through my throat and my esophagus into my eardrums. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's just super fucked up. But yeah, that was fucked up, man, and it did not feel good,
dude. Well, I just thought of another cringe story, and this isn't me. Well, this is just more funny than anything. So a few years ago, Justin and I went and ran a 5K. Okay. So we went and stayed, same thing kind of deal. It was actually the same place. We went and stayed in a hotel the night before so we could make sure and be there early because the race starts at like 6:30 or 7 or whatever. Yeah. So we get up at like, I don't know, 4:30 or something like that to start getting ready. And it's starting to like drizzle outside a little bit of rain. And I knew from a few weeks prior that if I run in the rain, that my shirt rubs the skin off my nipples and they chafe, right? Like, my nipples actually bled once. That's another story. But,
oh, wow.
So I was like, yeah, I can't fucking have that happening. That was horrific. I was like, I need to go to the gas station and I'm going to get some Vaseline and like rub it on my nipples, and because that's what you do.
That's like the thing.
That's like a common thing.
Like it's known.
Yeah. It's like that or some kind of running lubricant, I guess they call it. But anyway, you do that basically, so it just prevent chafing. People put it under their arms and by their nutsack, all that stuff. Well, so we go and we just go to like a gas station or whatever. So we get some like waters and stuff, and I bought my little thing of Vaseline, and then I went in the bathroom to put it on, right? And so I walk in the bathroom and I'm standing like in front of the sink, like, washing my hands and stuff. And then Justin walks in and he goes over and he's like in the stall area. He's taking a leak. And so I like did my business, got lubed up, and then I walked out and went back to the car. Okay. Well, Justin comes out and dude, he's like red as a fucking beet, man. Like comes out of the store and he gets in the car. He's like, dude, you're never gonna believe what just happened. And I was like, what, dude? Because like he's red, He's like, so you left out of the bathroom and somebody else walked in. He said, but I didn't know it was I thought you were still there. Yeah. He's like, so I was like, you ever think you'd be in a convenience store bathroom at 4:30 in the morning rubbing Vaseline on your nipples? And he's like in the stall. The other dude's like in the urinal pissing, right? Yeah. And the other guy's like, what the fuck?
Did that guy say anything?
I don't know, dude. We'll have to get Justin to tell us exactly. I was laughing so hard when he told me that, dude. Like, because how random of a thing. That's such a weird thing to say,
That's hilarious, dude.
Oh, it's like the greatest thing ever, though.
Oh, shit. That's fucking funny, man. It's funny that you bring that up because one of my roommates, he used to be a physical training leader in the Air Force, and this was when I was a civilian, but he was still in the military. And so he's basically like a PE instructor, you know what I'm saying? Like he stands up front and everybody does what he does, push-ups, jumping jacks, and then they go for like a 2 or 3 mile run, right? And there was this guy that worked in the shop next to us. He was cool as fuck, really cool guy, man. But he was kind of overweight, kind of had piggy tits a little bit.
Okay.
And and he liked to run. He was like really trying to get back in shape. Like I said, super good guy, man. And but it just caught up to him, like all the constant running, because he was going. I think he had to go 5 days a week. They call it mandatory PT or Mando PT. And since my roommate was the PTO, he had to be there every single day. But sometime towards the end of the week, man, like all that jogging and shit, it had rubbed his nipples like so raw that they were bleeding.
Yeah.
Like it was like showing through his shirt. And so they got done with the run, and the guy's got this like look of agony on his face, and my roommate's like, "What's wrong? What's going on?" And he was like, "Dude, my fucking nipples are bleeding, dude." And he was like, "Oh shit." He's like, "I gotta get this fucking shirt off, dude. I can't take it." And the guy's like trying to like take his own shirt off, and he's like in agony, like, because it's like so sensitive and so raw, dude.
Dude,
and all like the salt water, like your sweat, just burning, dude. And my roommate was like dying laughing just because it was like a fucking Adam Sandler movie,
Well, dude, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not an athlete. I'm not like a natural athlete. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've never had a bunch of sports equipment and all that kind of stuff. I'm just, anytime I do something, it's completely new to me, basically. So what happened to me when the first time was, I had been running. This is the first time I ever really started running. Got up to where I could do like 5K distances, right? And I I had always worn just like kind of some basketball style shorts and like, some t-shirts, cotton t-shirts, like I didn't have any like running gear per se,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So finally, after I got it with it, I was like, I'm going to get some like actual like running clothes, like some running shorts, shirts and all that. Yeah. Well, those, I'm such an idiot. I don't even know what they're called, but it's those shirts that are made of that kind of plasticky.
It's like that kind of like Under Armour, like
that kind of shit. Well, that's what I bought, and dude, it turns out that those things are just straight sandpaper on your nipples, dude. if like they're fine if it's like dry and stuff, but like it started to rain a little bit, so my shirt got wet, dude. And I can empathize with that poor bastard, man, because like it like cuts your nipples off almost. I mean, yeah, I actually had fucking embarrassing. I had like blood titties like on my shirt.
Was this like a super tight shirt or more loose fitting?
It was like medium. I mean, it like fit okay, but it wasn't like
it was clinging to you.
Yeah, it was. It was clinging to me because of the rain. Because it was starting to rain, and like my shirt was wet, because when I was running, I was like, man, what's going on? Because I felt some like discomfort in my nipples, but I was like, what the fuck is going on? But it didn't hit me until it was too late when it happened. You know what I mean? And yeah, dude, it was brutal. Like, I had to like Vaseline them bastards up for like 3 or 4 days and like put fucking padding over them and shit.
Yeah, I've had that happen just like between my thighs of all places.
The standard chafe.
Yeah, like no thigh gap there, because I used to do tons of squats, so my legs were like a little bit bigger than they probably should have been, I guess. And so in the summertime when I'd be walking, especially at my old job, I'd be so fucking sweaty, dude. It would just like tear me up. And I wasn't smart enough to go get like the Under Armour type of underwear. You know what I'm saying? Because that's all you got to do. You fix the problem. But I wasn't smart enough, and so I'm like walking around like a fucking Texas sheriff, like a gunslinger, like all bow-legged and shit. And everybody's like, "What the fuck is wrong with you, dude?" But you have to walk like that. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't just like play it off because that shit hurts so fucking bad, dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's disgusting to even think about.
It is.
Anything, yeah, especially like by a man's genitals and stuff. It's way worse than nipples. It's disgusting. That's fucking nasty. But yeah, dude, I'm kind of fat right now, so I need, my plan is to get up and start like walking before work, walk an hour 5 days a week,
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to get some of those if that's gonna happen, dude, because that shit is fucking ruthless, man. I don't want to walk around like Yosemite Sam, whatever the fuck his name is, a gunslinger.
Yeah, that stuff is brutal. Like, yeah, if you can't underestimate the chafe, man. Like, because a lot of people use that. It has a name. I can't remember what it is, but it's basically like a runner's lubricant type of thing. Yeah. And you literally like, kind of douche down on your ball sack and all that. And,
see, I've never even heard of that. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people run marathons and stuff because if you don't, you'll get fucked up, man. Yeah. Like, if you think about it, because you think about those people that run 26 miles or whatever, like. You're gonna sweat. You're gonna fucking chafe. You know what I mean? So yeah, they have to like take these preventative measures to not get all tore up.
Is that healthy to run that far? It doesn't seem like it.
I don't know.
Like long term, that has to fuck you up, right?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of people do it.
Yeah.
It seems like it'd be hard on your joints, but I mean, what am I to say? I'm a fat slug over here.
Yeah, I think the farthest I've ever ran is like 3.5 miles, and then after that, I was like, "Fuck this, dude! I'm done, man."
Yeah,
I think that's about a 5K, right? Somewhere in that region.
Yeah, it's like 3.1, 3.2 is 5K.
Yeah, so something like that. I just don't have a passion for it, man. I can't do it. But you like to run, kind of, right?
Yeah, well, when I got good at it, I liked it. I'm probably back at like square one right now. But like once I actually got doing it, because when you're not thinking about running anymore when you're doing it, it's all right.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
It's when you're like, God damn it! Like when you're trying to get through it in the training, and it's so hard. But like once you get into it, you're not thinking that, you're just doing it. You know, when you're actually in shape enough to where it just happens.
Yeah.
But
I was just random thought. Another cringe story happened to a friend of mine. We were at the gym when I was like 17, and he was trying to squat like 400 pounds. And when you're 17 and you're still growing, that's a lot of fucking weight. That's a lot of weight for even a grown man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everybody's telling him, like, man, I don't know, dude, that's too much. Don't do it. And like, there's girls around and shit, and he's like pumping himself up. Like, for some reason, I don't know what that is, but when you're 17, you think that if you lift this heavy weight in front of these girls, that somehow they're going to magically like you.
Just getting wet, fucking.
Yeah, I just don't think that it works like that, you know. But when you're young, you don't realize that. But
yeah,
anyway,
I'm pretty sure it has a 0% like success rate. Yeah.
And so he gets under the bar and he picks it up. And whenever you spot somebody doing squats, like the way that you do it is you're basically giving them a hug from behind and you're putting your palms on their chest.
Yeah.
And so like and if they can't lift it, then it looks really gay. It looks super homosexual when you do it. But so you squat down with them and then you pick their chest up and like help you. Like you can easily take like 100 to 150 pounds off the bar by helping them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so my other friend is spotting him. He goes down. He goes down to parallel. And he starts to push back up, and he's just frozen, dude. And my friend's kind of off balance, and he like can't get it up, And so they're sitting there fighting with this weight for like 30 seconds, dude. And like, and all these people start running over to try to help. And like the person who works at the gym and the girl's like, "Oh my god, he's gonna get hurt," and all this shit like that. And so finally, like, we all help and we get the bar back up on the rack, and he fucking snaps, dude. Like, he's like mad like it's everybody else's fault when everybody told him not to do it,
Yeah.
He was like, "You fucking idiots, I had that. You don't know how to fucking spot." He's like losing his shit, like ready to fight, But he's embarrassed because he made a fool of himself. Like, we told him, like, you can't do it. You're not ready to do it. Don't do it,
You remember when that dude was at our house? You know who I'm talking about. And when we were growing up, and he was on the bench, and he like, had too much on there, and he like lifts it up, goes up, and then it gets like off balance a little bit. And I don't know if he didn't have the like end cap things on.
Yeah. Oh, I remember the clips weren't on there. It was in my bedroom.
The clips aren't on, so he goes one way. And like all the plates go sliding off, and then it's all goes the way, and it's like,
and he got mad.
People get angry when they can't lift.
I know, dude.
Or like when something goes wrong with that. Yeah. It's like they've shredded their masculinity.
Yeah. That's funny. A friend, dude, I have so many stupid stories like that. Like, they're so interesting. But another one of my friend, he was up on the pull-up bar, and he would like hold on to it and then put his feet up. There was like a window seal by it that was a couple of feet away, and he would hang and put his feet on the window seal and then kind of like slowly like rock back and forth to stretch his lats out, I guess. People like just make up weird shit, to like stretch that they don't need to do. And he's sitting there doing it. He's one of those guys. I mean, he was very strong and very built. You know what I'm talking about? One of my buddies growing up, he was like compared to all of us, he was like light years ahead. He was like Arnold to us, And but he would like get really pumped up with his fucking headset on. We all listen to metal in the gym and shit. Or like in his case, he usually listened to like Def Leppard, like "Pour some sugar on me," Yeah. But he would like get this look on his face, like fist fucking heads, like going back and forth, and he's gritting his teeth, and he's like fucking shaking, and his face is all red. And so he's sitting up there doing that, like doing all this shit, and then he just slips and he falls straight on his back, like super hard, dude. And he was sweating, so it made like when he hit those gym mat things, it made like that fucking weird whip noise. And there was these girls around, dude. I remember it's just like, holy shit, dude, you look like a fucking douche. Like, because I mean, if he hadn't been doing all that extra, like, super intense stuff, it still would have been bad, but not that bad. But he made it worse by doing that, man. And it was funny. And I felt bad for him.
Poor bastard.
Amazing story, I know.
Yeah.
An epic tale, a riveting tale.
I'm sure there's lots of shit that happens in gyms that has got to be like...
Like have you ever seen anybody fly off the treadmill? Yes. Yeah. When I worked at that gym, dude, one of the guys that worked there, he ran all the time, and he was talking to our boss. He's like, yeah, it's my 27th day in a row that I've ran 5 miles or whatever it was. You know, he's bragging like this little skinny fucking guy. And she's like, you should take a break from that. You know, you're going to get hurt or, you know, wear your joints out, something like that. He's like, no, I can do this. And so he's on there, and he's running. And I guess that was the day, just magically, that something malfunctioned. He got cramps or something tightened up. And he fucking fell on the treadmill, and and he's a little guy too, and it shot him out. Like fucking, like if you're going off one of those water slides that drops off and you fall into the water, that's what it looked like. Like he like went and like froze in the air for a split second and then hit the ground.
Oh no!
And it was beautiful, man. I loved every second of it.
I've actually done that myself, not like as an adult, but like as a kid, I've gotten on the treadmill and been shot off that fucking
thing. Dude, there was this girl when I worked at that gym at the college. There was this girl that would go in there. Now, like she wasn't trolling. And I think that she possibly had some type of mental disorder, you know, not like retardation of some kind, but just something was wrong with her, man. And she would go in there, and she actually lifted weights, and she had good form, and she did it right. You know what I'm saying? So like she kind of got respect because like back then girls didn't lift weights like they do. Like, they weren't doing CrossFit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but she would get on the bench press, and every time she's like when she would let it down, she'd be like, oh. And then when she would go up, she'd go. And like make these super sexual noises, and the more that she got into her workout and the heavier the weights got, the more intense it got, where she's like but it was like not intense, like intense male, like, you know, I'm gonna crush every weight in this gym. It was like I'm having the best orgasm of my life type of noise, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's funny.
And we had to have a meeting, the staff there, and who was going to approach her and tell her that she couldn't do that anymore. And I was like, I'm not fucking doing that. Fuck you. And so they finally talked this lady to do it. She was like 40 or something, you know, a mom. So I guess she seemed like the least threatening. And so we're all like, it was like the next day or a couple days later, we're all kind of huddled off to the side watching to see what happens. And she approaches her like mid-set while she's doing it and interrupts her and explains to her what's going on and tells her to stop and shit. And the girl stopped. You know, she didn't really seem phased though, but she stopped for that day. But sure enough, dude, like 1 or 2 days later, she comes back in and she just starts doing it again, man. Wow. And they just kind of had to let it go. Like, what do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I guess people were complaining about it, like saying that they thought it was inappropriate.
Yeah. Because
it wasn't like intense, like I got this, I'm gonna break a world record. It was just super sexual.
Yeah, just getting drilled.
Yeah. But it was funny, dude, because like there would be dudes who would like, you could just see them like teachers and shit. And they're
working on the side jerking off.
Yeah, and they're just watching, like loving it, dude. And it was just funny, man. Yeah,
that's
gym
fantastic,
stories, bro. At the gym. What else you got,
man? I can't think of anything else at the second. We're getting up on an hour, so
are we? Yeah. Oh man, time flies whenever you're talking about cringe.
I think I want to do another cringe episode one of these days because this is a topic that is so fantastic that I need to sit down and think about. Because, dude, I know I've got some. I've got some that will make me sweat probably talking about it that I want to come back with.
Yeah, I have tons, dude. That's the thing is like today we just kind of winged it. We didn't have. That's what we normally do, but we didn't have any idea what we were going to talk about. Really, I think. As we were eating tacos, we had mentioned some kind of cringy moment. We're like, oh, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
But if I sit down and I think about it for a while, I know I have some great ones, man.
Yeah. We'll definitely revisit this one. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and start closing this down. If you got a great cringe story, call in and leave us a message, man. We'd love to hear it. Number is 804-557-4691. You can check us out on the web, Jake and John Show. I'm going to try that one more time. Maybe I can say our names. JakeandJohnShow.com. That's the blog. That's where we post all the extra stuff about the show, links, anything, you know, that makes sense. I may have already said it, Facebook and Twitter, at Jake and John Show. If you want to help support us, some of the greatest things you can do, subscribe on whatever platform you're on, leave a review, and we have a Patreon page now. If you want to see a video of this show you're listening to, it'll be there. It's patreon.com/JJ Show.
Yes.
And we've actually posted all the kind of like videos with audio of the podcast on our YouTube page. There's a link to it on the website as well. So if you're into that kind of thing, or that's a useful platform for you, that's there. And I expect we'll be adding more video content as we keep going along. We're still working on some ideas for stuff. But anyways, yeah, on Patreon, $1 a month, and you get to see the videos, all the podcasts. Good stuff.
Word up.
All right. Well, as always, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and take it easy.
Take it easy.